I'm trying something new today. Trying these blue light blocking glasses to see if it's going to work for me seeing the font better. Hello, anybody joining me? Let me see, I can't see, there's nobody here. I'm Kiana Sage and I guide people to peace. I do that through the integration of the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. Why is that important? Well, you're going to learn a lot about that today when we're talking about soul lessons. I'm going to let people join in here today. My name is Kiana Sage, and I've been doing this work for over, my whole life, really. But in different capacities throughout my life. And, you know, the soul lessons are usually something that most people really struggle with. So that's why I decided to make it a topic today. Maybe today isn't the best day. You know, it's a Saturday. I don't know how many people are going to be joining me, but this topic is important regardless if you are here live or watching on replay, because this topic impacts every single person on this planet, and most people don't have any conscious awareness of this issue. So, I wanted to talk about, oh, hello, good to see you. Thank you for saying hello. I'm just gonna let some time go so we can get some more people in here. And hey, Peter. I'm trying these blue glasses, and they're so dirty that I can't even see anything out of them. Okay, is that better? I was trying to see if the font changes with the blue blocking glasses, the blue light block. Anyway, I'm getting there. My eyesight is improving because I can see the letters, I can see the words. It just is the white is hard to read. Anyway, so I got an email this week from a young man. So I want to talk about this email first, and then I'll get into the content about the soul lessons that I think is most important for everybody to have some semblance of understanding, because it can be very challenging when we don't understand what is happening. And I witnessed this firsthand, face to face with somebody who was repeating patterns and didn't understand. So I'm going to talk about this today. Hey, Coco. Hi, everybody's joining in. So first I want to talk about this email that I received from this brave veteran. He's a military veteran. He described himself as middle-aged at 34, which I would challenge that as being middle-aged, but 34 years old. His mother is dying, and he is lost. And I hope that he joins here today on this live. He's not somebody I've seen in the chat, but perhaps under a different call name. Why is it that I'm bringing this up? Because our soul lessons are often some of our biggest challenges. But I want to speak specifically to our clarity in which we are seeking help and guidance. Because when we are just speaking in general terms, we will get general guidance. When we ask more specific questions, we will get more specific guidance. My job, there's a mosquito that got in the house. My job really, people ask me, tell me what to do. I can't tell you what to do, but as military personnel, they're accustomed to being given direction, given orders, being told what to do, and that can be detrimental to the evolution of the soul, because the soul is all about learning lessons, which is contrary to people being told what to do. If you're being told what to do, chances are you're going to do that because you feel like they have more authority than you. And that is not necessarily the truth. So a lot of our soul lessons are going to be unlearning. Oh, we have a birthday in the house? I just saw Peter saying happy birthday, or Peter saying happy birthday. Did I? Okay, these glasses are not helping me see. Okay, let me see. Oh, it's not Peter. Okay, y'all, I'm going to stick to this talk. So I want to talk to the person who sent me that email, and I think that this is going to have, an impact on everybody here, because when I asked for more clarity of what they wanted guidance on, they said, I lack money. And I work with people at a discounted rate when they are committed. I don't work for free. He wasn't asking me to work for free. He was asking for help. And I am here to help. I come on here every single day to give insights, awarenesses for you to get what you need and take what works for you and go on your way, whether you come to me for a session or not. When somebody is saying they're lacking money to process the death of their mother or get their mother what they need. So I have no idea why the lack of money is the issue for this particular man. But when I asked him, that's what he said. So I want to use this example as an example of a soul lesson, and then I'm going to get into the content about soul lessons. So first of all, what is money? Money is currency, okay? If we want to break it down into currency. So there is a lot of attachment that people have to money, but money is a flow. It is an energetic form of life force currency energy, okay? So if you think of currency like a life stream, if you will. You either are fully embodied in the life stream of thriving and living, and you don't see lack. When you're in thriving and living, you see compassionate awareness, okay? So money or lack of money is always going to be based on your perceptions. Your perceptions are often guided by your belief system. When your belief system has gone unchallenged, unchecked, it will cause some discord. Now, not everybody on this planet has this lesson about lack of money. If you don't learn your lessons about money, so I'm going to just speak very honestly and freely here. I was raised in a single parent family home. My father was a multimillionaire and my mother had no child support. And she was the one raising all of us. We were on food stamps. We would go to the grocery checker. This is many years ago, and we had to put food away. So I know what poverty is. I have experienced not having money. I have experienced needing to be dependent on a government entity to provide food stamps so we could eat. Now, there is learning in that experience. And I will tell you, I learned my lessons. My mother learned her lessons. My brother learned his lessons. And I believe my sister learned her lessons. We all had lessons to learn from poverty. Those lessons to learn from poverty are different than my sisters and brothers would be different than mine, and mine would be different than my mother's. But we all had lessons to learn. And this goes back to the soul lessons. Throughout our ages and throughout our life, we have stages. Those stages all have soul lessons. It is incumbent to us to identify those lessons and consciously learn them so we don't repeat them. So what I would suggest to the young man who thinks he's middle-aged at 34, which, by the way, that's very young. You haven't even reached your pinnacle of your life at 34. You're still in the game at 34, and now it's time to get really in it and learn your lessons. Because The lack of money is going to come in with beliefs around limitation. It's going to come in with beliefs around scarcity and beliefs around abundance. And you want to learn all of your lessons for that. Now, his issue is coming up as a lack of money for him. Now, if he were to come to me for a client session, that would not be where I focus my attention. Why? Because it's a soul issue, okay? The soul issue is what needs to be addressed. And those are the things that make us weak. When we are disconnected from our soul. And I would say many of our veterans have been disconnected, because when you think about, and I started to get into this a couple weeks ago with the Navy SEAL who was on here, there is a massive awareness that would be so supportive if people understood who gets recruited, why they get recruited, what is the method behind the madness of the recruiting process. Learn those things. It will help you understand your situational awareness. When you have more situational awareness without judgment, just awareness, you can learn some really massive lessons that will help you grow and evolve. So the lack of awareness around why did you choose to go into the military? What things did you witness that were hit you in the core of who you are that maybe caused so much detrimental pain? Because I have worked with a lot of veterans, and I know they can't talk about what they've seen. I don't need them to talk about this. My work is not about therapy. My work is about healing. Very different approaches. And I'm not saying that therapists don't have their place in this world. They certainly do. And it might be misguided anyways, but the ones who are really connected to understanding that the soul has a soul evolution, they will help their clients really learn the lessons that need to be learned so the patterns can change. So this is number one. Soul lessons will always show up in patterns. Typically, those patterns will be of pain and discomfort. If those patterns, let's just say from my younger years of being on food stamps and seeing my parents, which are also patterns that you get to learn soul lessons from. Every single one of us will learn from our parents if we were open to it. If we are learning our lessons, the pain and discomfort does not turn into suffering. Suffering would be physical pain, illnesses, you got heart issues, you got blood issues, you got organ issues. It will be suffering, because the soul evolution is, whether you're aware of it or not, is occurring. So when you see patterns of pain and discomfort, there's soul lessons there for you. Learn them. And to the best of your ability, you want to learn them and integrate them physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So what I will also tell you, point number two, first of all, let me say this. I want to give you an example, because I wrote down a couple examples, because I wanted to bring this home for you. So I grew up, if you guys have seen my video on being bullied by your family, that wasn't one of my most proudest moments, but I really put up those videos knowing that I wasn't alone and that I couldn't be the only one that got bullied by their family. So I grew up in a family that didn't have a problem with conflict. Like, I knew conflict was all around me, my family, my mother and my father, my brother and my sister. We did not shy away from conflict. Maybe that's the Italian aspect in me, but we didn't shy away. So then I grow up, I go to college, I get my degree, and I focus on conflict management, because I see the blessing in conflict, because when we have disagreements, it's a way to connect. It's not the healthiest way to connect, but it is a way in which connection can occur. And so I became a conflict management consultant. because I know I can manage conflict. I grew up in it. I understand it. I see the beauty in it. I see the pain in it. And I also see the unification that can come from it. So I started my career as a conflict management consultant. What's ripe in conflict? The military, right? So I brought my skills straight into military forces, and I was helping different factions of government to really address conflict and within their organization so they can actually meet their mission. Now, I am not one who goes into judgment about the missions or the purpose. I wouldn't do the same work today that I did 25 years ago, but that's what I was doing back then. And then I learned all my lessons about conflict. I learned them all. And I was like, the hell if I want to keep doing this? Because when you call yourself a conflict management, guess what you get? You get conflict everywhere. So this goes back into feed what you want to grow. If you are seeing lack of money everywhere, it is going to be like a seed, and it hooks you in and you become bonded to that experience. When you learn your lessons, you are no longer tethered or attached to that experience, and you can evolve into new lessons and new patterns. Okay? So when I realized that I had conflict not just at work but everywhere, I was like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm kind of over this conflict thing. I've learned my lesson and I'm moving on. And that's what I did. So I decided to name my company InSync Consulting, and I started focusing on the flow. Because the one thing about conflict is it has a force. It has an energetic force that's not very comfortable to most people. But if you understand that when there is a force there can also be movement, and then we get to direct it. That's why I'm so good at working with organizations and teams. And I'm not just saying that to pat myself on the back, it's the truth. I'm good because I understand how energy works. I understand how teams work. I understand how density works. And it's non-judgmental in which I am working with these teams. But what I can tell you that every single dysfunctional team, every dysfunctional organization, every dysfunctional family has operating in their system is avoidance, denial, suppression, or oppression. Either one or all of them, right? So if those things are occurring, I promise you, there is soul lessons to be learned. And if you do not learn them when you're younger and maybe you had a violation occur, and you think that trauma is your soul lesson, the trauma isn't the lesson. It's the experience that brings the lesson. Your interpretation of the experience that brings the lesson. All of those need to be learned and then integrated. How you integrate them is going to be dependent on your belief system. So I was talking to somebody, a friend of a friend, this last week, and they were going through such what I would say, a tragic situation where they had a soul theme that they had not contended. So soul lessons and patterns, and then there are soul themes. A soul theme will bring a magnitude of suffering, confusion, discomfort, and loneliness that it's hard to describe. But because it's familiar, and I understand soul lessons, I said to the guy, I was like, look, if you're willing, I'll help you. But this is a soul lesson. And I've had my fair share of this particular experience that he was having. And it is exceptionally painful. And when it's a soul theme, the magnitude of pain is more. So I will say I had the pattern, this guy had the theme. Two different expressions of a similar issue. our learning would be different. My learning is my learning. His learning is his learning. So we all have learning. There is no prescriptive approach to addressing the soul. Everybody's soul is different, and you have to work with the type of person, number one, that you trust and that has integrity, and number two, who's going to teach you how to do this for yourself, because you are the one that heals yourself. You are the one that heals your soul. There is nobody else that can do it for you. I wish that we could get this done for us, but we really need to disentangle from some beliefs in order to become our own healer. And everything that I'm telling you today, I taught myself. Nobody taught me any of these things. I had to learn it, and I did it for myself, and then I saw how it felt. Then I did it for others, and I saw how it felt. Sometimes when I'm practicing something new, I'll tell my people, hey, I've only done this on myself and with 2 other people, but if you're willing to experiment, here's the process. And lo and behold, it works. So that's how I started doing what I'm doing now. But what I will tell you is that if we don't learn the lessons from the experience of trauma, that will become suffering later on at 30, 40, and 50 years old, and maybe already into an illness of some kind. Why? Because these things cause blockages in how energy flows. That life stream that I talked about earlier when I was talking about money and currency, that's a life stream, right? So when we have awareness that we've been in denial of our life lessons, that's good. But that doesn't fix the lesson, right? It doesn't integrate the lessons. You can't just say, okay, I've learned, which by the way, the ego mind, and this happened with this guy, I know already, Kiana. I was like, look, if you already know, I wouldn't have heard all the stories. So the stories are an indication that your mind is lying to you. Okay? Your mind will lie to you for many different nefarious reasons, but it's to keep you in the ego mind, which disconnects you from your heart frequency, which is where healing occurs. Okay? When you address that you have had a trauma that you didn't heal, or you have experience that you didn't heal from your childhood, let's just say you discovered that in your 30s. Okay, well then that's when you get to go back and heal it. If you discovered it in your 50s, that's when you go back and heal it. But what's happening is people are discovering their need for soul healing in their illness. So what I'm suggesting to you today is that if you do your soul healing, you won't have to be ill. You won't have to have suffering. That doesn't mean you won't have challenges, and that won't mean that you won't have to do some compassionate witnessing. But you won't have to learn the hard way, because the suffering is the hard way. And we are not destined to suffer. We are destined to suffer if we don't learn our lessons, okay? So the other thing I want to say about the soul lessons, because I find that a lot of people tend to make their lessons really personal, like why me? And they ask the question why. That is a horrible quality question, because the why doesn't matter. What matters is that you have come to this life to evolve and grow. And when you are in the evolution of your soul, you have arrived. And that is when the suffering stops. If you keep on going back to the habitual habits of the mind, because the mind has not been disciplined, and you want to know why is this happening, just answer the question with, this is my soul journey. If this is my experience, this is the why. Because I have agreed to it. The only way to go out of agreement is to go out of agreement and to learn your lessons. Okay. Once you have done the learning, and it's integrated, so the learning needs to be integrated physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Once you have learned and integrated you will naturally, organically shift out of that. You will feel more free, you will feel lighter, you will feel more integrated, and you will evolve into a new pattern. So the most important thing to know is that your soul lesson doesn't mean it has to be a lifetime of suffering. But many of you have accepted that suffering is a part of your lifetime. That is a part of your soul lesson. And what I'm telling you is that's garbage. That's garbage. That's not the truth. That is a lie. Because when you learn your lessons and you learn them all the way through, you do not need to repeat them. They will stop, just cease. And how do I know that? Because your frequency changes when you start to expand and evolve. You do not resonate with the same things. It's like when you somebody tells you can't have something, and then you think, oh, I want that. Like, Kiana, you can't have that cupcake. What do I want? The cupcake. Why? Because I am not going to have anybody telling me what I can and cannot have. Like, I would have gone into that kind of ego challenge, like, because there is an aspect of me that knows that freedom is our choices. And you have choices. You have choices in your perception. You have choices in how you choose to tell a story or not. You have choices to choose to not tell the story. The stories are an indication that you are derailing yourself because you feel that you need to tell this story to justify your experience. And I am here today to share with you that there is no need to justify your life experience. The only justification is the lesson. That is it. That is it. So, everybody who is human is going to have soul lessons from their parents, your mother and father. Regardless of what your stories are about your mom and dad, your parents, whether they were good or bad, it doesn't even matter because your lessons are your lessons. So go get your lessons. Go get your lessons. I would say my mother and her deathbed taught me more about living fully than she ever could have done in our life together. Is that sad? That's just the truth. You know, so I'm not here to judge my own experience. I'm just here to say that I was going to learn everything I needed to learn from my soul experience with my mother on her deathbed. There was not going to be one moment that I was going to let the experience pass me by, and it was excruciating. I saw my entire illusion of what family was told to be, and then I saw what it really was. So here are my 3 soul lessons that I think that would be really helpful. When you're looking at your parents, you got to dig deep. It's not going to be on the surface. It's going to be deep. You got to be willing to see. And that means see the things that you have been judging. See the truth in the lessons. Because when you're willing to accept the lessons, you can really set yourself free. And the third one is stop. Just save yourself from the stories. The stories are not your truth. They're just a perception that you have in a moment in time. And when you integrate the lessons, the stories have an opportunity to change. Because you've changed. Because when you change, you expand, you evolve. When our soul lessons are filled with pain and discomfort, there's going to be a contraction. That's the law of cycles. That's the law, the lesson that we're working with, the universal law of cycles. And part of the universal law of cycles is to learn the lessons from the patterns. Now, I'm talking about soul lessons today because some of you will have themes within your soul patterns that have become ingrained because you didn't learn the lesson. Okay, so what I would suggest is that the man who had the theme that I was helping him work through that became massive suffering started with pain. It started with discomfort, and then that got ignored, and then that got pushed down for whatever reasons, whether they didn't know how to do it, they weren't taught, or they were just disconnected from their heart. They don't have a belief in God. They don't have a belief in creation. They don't know that. They haven't explored it. Whatever the reasons, they don't matter. The only thing that matters is the suffering will continue if you do not address the lessons. Okay, I said a lot. I said a lot. I know there's only a handful of you. Hey, 17 of you here. Thank you for being here and hanging in. This was a lot. This is a big topic that I'm trying to distill down into actionable things that you can do on your own. Let's see. And I chose this Radiant Love shirt because the advice that I gave to the young man who said that he lacked money is that you need to dive into the frequency of love because that's expansion. You cannot have limitation and expansion holding the same frequency. When you hold the frequency of love, you are in expansion. Okay? When you are in the lack of money, when you are in the limitation, there's no expansion. It's all contraction. So that's general advice. Somebody is asking, I need your help to know about the love of my life. Will we meet again? It's been 3 years since our breakup. The love of your life is you. Stop looking outside yourself and start loving you. That's where love meets. So love yourself fully. See yourself as the partner that you've been seeking, wanting, desiring, and when you feel that frequency, it will match with a partner. Coco, hello. Peter, happy birthday. Okay, any questions about what I have just talked about? Can you help me find my heart? I promise you, I am not stealing anybody's heart. I am simply resonating in the frequency of the heart. But if you feel like your heart's been stolen, you better get that one back. Richard is saying you learn empathy, that's for sure. I know 34 is young. It's young. I wish I knew what I know now at 34. I think my life would have been very, very different. Any questions? Opportunity in chaos. There is often opportunity in chaos. Right, but that was familiar to me. That's why I became a conflict management consultant at the time, because it was familiar. Just because it's familiar and comfortable doesn't mean that you need to continue to stay in that. You know, we got to challenge ourselves to learn the lessons and move on. Jer, good to see you here. That is really a spiritual rags to emotional riches story, ma'am. Thank you for seeing that, Jer. Look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Well, I think that's an interesting question because there are windows of opportunity, and people think that chances and opportunity keep coming back around, and they don't. You know, I learned this very young. When I was like 15 years old, I saw my sister pass up on opportunities because she was insecure. And I remember, I think I was like 14, 15 years old, and I was like, oh, that's it. I just remember her saying she was too insecure to do what was being asked of her. And in my mind, I don't even know why I thought this, but I did. I thought, if that comes my way, I'm going. And it did come my way, and I was gone. And I don't know, I can't think what my sister and my brother were thinking. But I do know that there was levels of sibling rivalry that were there for sure, and missed opportunities that they didn't get that maybe they wanted. But I would say these are alignments. You know, you have to consciously choose the direction you want to go. And I think when people lack the awareness of their soul lessons, they keep repeating the same patterns because they didn't learn them yet. So moments of opportunity, they don't always come back around. And these days that we are in now, in our lifetime, in this planet, in these United States, or wherever you are in the world, like what's coming has never happened on this planet before. Never. So we got to get clear, we got to get calm, and we got to be connected. And we got to learn our lessons, or else we are going to get easily wrapped up in the chaos. Do I believe in radiant love? I believe that love is a frequency, and I do believe it radiates, yes. That's why I'm wearing the shirt, because I not only believe it, I do my best to live it. And it's not always easy because, you know, people can be quite unkind. You guys have seen the chats before I see them. People can be really unkind. And you love anyways. Somebody's saying strong personality. Well, the soul matrix is about the personality matrix, right? They're not separate. So when we learn our lessons, our ego mind cannot be running the show, right? So we start to organically align to what's more resonant for our heart, not our mind or our egoic desires of money and things. Neiman, I had already, he's saying you wanted to move on and learn something more. I realized that conflict was a comfort zone, and that I looked at conflict at that time in my life, and I saw it everywhere, and I thought, you know what? I'm done with this lesson. This one has been learned. I know it. I'm comfortable with it. It cannot intimidate me. I am not afraid of it, and therefore I'm done. Now that doesn't mean that I don't have conflict, but conflict does not impact me like it impacts the vast majority of people. I have no problems having a difficult conversation. I'm fearless when it comes to those things. I have done it my entire life. So that lesson is not that, check that box, that has been done. And so I wanted to expand, so I took that title out of I was no longer that consultant. Did I get brought into situations of conflict? I have seen grown men that you would never imagine, the most egoic, smart, highly intelligent men crumble in front of each other with my facilitation and drop right into their heart, out of their ego, and get healed from some of the facilitations that I've done, right in the middle of a conference room, in the middle of an organization where they say we don't do these things. People do what they need to do to heal. They just need to have somebody that can hold the space. And that's what I do. And I do that very well. And I'm also very observant. And I'm also compassionate. I think I'm more compassionate now than I was then. But when you see these men who have been traumatized by their bosses, by these hierarchy powers. I'll just go ahead and say these admirals who are completely disconnected from the humanity of the jobs that they are doing, and the people that are in operation, I will say, to support their initiatives, whether they're conscious of it or not, is nothing less than dehumanizing. And there was no way in hell I was going to walk down that hall and say, no, I'm not going to talk to these guys. They needed to be heard. They needed to be felt so they can heal from what the damage that these other people have done. I was just in the right place at the right time, and they were there too. Now, sometimes they haven't learned all of their lessons and they will continue to repeat them, but at least that one I could help with. Just looking for questions. How can a person reset their belief system? I think that's such a smart question. And what I will say is, I believe in the natural laws. I know a lot of people are very much attached to religious beliefs. That is not my forte. So I want all of my beliefs to be in alignment with the natural laws. So what I do is I learn about the natural laws. This is what I did. I learned about the natural laws. How does energy work? What does it mean? What is cause and effect? What is the law of cycles? And I went and I learned all about all the natural laws. And then I look, when I see belief systems that I have that are incongruent, misaligned in some way, when I see it, I pull it out. And I pull it out and I see it for what it is. And I see, oh, Kiana, that's an old belief of how you used to operate. And that's not who you are now. So I identify the belief, I disidentify with that belief, and I realign with the natural laws. I am God, sovereign, freedom is what I believe. And I believe all of us are here to serve creation, to be kind, to be loving, to be supportive, to be conscious, to evolve our souls, both as individual souls and collective soul consciousness. That's what I believe. And so that's the system that I want to feed. And so when I see these belief systems that come up from different things, because we've been programmed and conditioned, and some of us have been brainwashed and we don't even know it. And so you got to learn about brainwashing. Why don't you know about it? Because you think it only happens to people in cults? No, it happens to people all the time. You got to learn about it. What are the nefarious programs out there that are brainwashed? Learn about them. See what's been disclosed. Oh, that's crazy. How does that happen? Read books that are about these disclosures so you can understand how it shows up. And you will see that your belief systems have been misaligned, misguided. Anything that is anti-love, anti-Christ, anti-love, anti-life, anti-Christ, like those energies are demonic. So those are beliefs that you want to identify. So anywhere where you have beliefs that, I don't need to support these people, I don't need to encourage these people, that would be tied to one of those beliefs. And so you want to pull it out. Because the anti-life agenda is to separate people from unity and seeing your brother and your sister as part of you. So the person that I was working with this last week, he didn't even know what to do. He's like, I don't even know what this is that's happening. And I said, this is love. This is what people do that love. They make space. They are present. They are honorable. They are kind. They're not judging. Am I aware of what's happening when these people go off on a tangent and take more time when they could make it faster? I like to go fast. I don't need 5 days to go through the soul lessons. I can do it in a session with my clients. Not all of them, but the core ones. Anyhow, hopefully what is being discussed here, Muhammad, we're talking about soul lessons and learning. I hope I have distilled the 5 points for you all. You can reset your belief system. I believe you can, but it takes a real expansion within your heart to do that, because your higher heart is where the higher frequencies are resigning, and those are more powerful and can override. Hello, Ashley. No, you cannot buy the painting behind me. The topic today is soul lessons. Yes, when you learn your soul lessons, you will be strong. That's what we're creating by becoming in sync, is that inner congruence. And that inner congruence is inner strength. The inner strength can see a challenge and not be afraid of it. The inner strength can have compassionate witnessing. It can have observation, because those who are in connection to their heart, your heart frequency can shift any situation when you're present to the heart. The aim of this stream is just to provide insights, awarenesses, and some context to the importance of the soul. Hi, Eric. Good to see you here. Neiman, yes, please take your lessons. I talk about lessons all the time. And if something that I'm saying resonates, take the lesson, but go deeper within yourself, because I'm not presenting everything in its entirety, but I know you are smart, you are wise, and you can get all your lessons. And once you get all the lessons, you want to integrate them. You want to integrate them in your heart. You want to integrate them through your belief system, through all aspects of you. Peter, any questions? Oliver, any questions? Tanaku is saying, I am teaching about spiritual health. I guess I am. And because if you don't understand that everything begins in the non-physical that emerges in the physical. So if you are already contending with a physical challenge, and I will say, I'll teach you, here's one of my lessons. I don't mind sharing this one. Listening to your intuition. How many times do you need to have that gut check before you listen to your own inner guidance? Well, I'll tell you, I knew to listen and I didn't listen. So I got one lesson after another lesson after another until I almost died. I'm trying to spare you guys from having to go down that road. You know, because if your lesson, if one of your soul lessons is to be a teacher, like I have known since I was a little girl I'm supposed to teach, but I didn't know I was going to be teaching this stuff. Trust me, nobody could have ever told me I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to talk about my spiritual beliefs, my spiritual knowing, my intuition, how I'm guided. You couldn't have paid me. I would have said no, hell no. That wouldn't be me. That's how much I keep to myself. Until this year, I was told, I was guided to teach this stuff publicly. Now, do I enjoy it? I'm enjoying it. I've met people on here that are very kind and generous, and Peter and Oliver and Matt and Jer and Eric, and like these are people that are strangers, but I feel like my heart knows them. And we're here to grow and expand. And if anybody comes committed, I am a million times there. So going back to my soul lesson, I ended up almost dying. I'm lucky to be alive. How many near-death experiences do you need to have before you get the lesson? For me, it was obviously more than one. Okay? So I don't want other people to have to go through that. It's not fun. It's not fun, but it's possible. And that's when I learned that pain goes away the moment you are conscious, aware, and present. When I was in a pain on a scale of 0 to 10, I would tell you I was a 20, and I was contemplating other options that were illogical and made no sense to what I believed. But I knew the pain was so intense. I was like, if I can't get out of this pain, then I don't want to do this anymore. And that's when I got present. And I was like, okay, I'm out of pain. I have no pain whatsoever in the present moment. How do I stay there? That's where I started training myself. Nobody taught me this. It was my own awareness. My mother was not my best friend. She was certainly a confidant, but she wasn't my best friend. I had another best friend that I needed to learn another life lesson from, another painful experience. Hey, Mick. What I want to say is thank you, Larry. Thanks for being here. What I would recommend with people with no money, I would recommend learning your soul lessons. If you perceive yourself as having no money, what is the soul lesson that you need to learn? What are they? There's going to be more than one, and if it's a soul lesson, it's going to be big. It's going to be bigger than a pattern. Okay? So they show up in patterns of pain. But if you see money as the theme, then go learn the lessons of that theme. Once you learn the soul lessons, your perceptions about money and currency and life force is going to change. Steve, that would be, I would say that your cat is trying to send you a message. And I think the message is of love. They're trying to say, see how good I am at my job. You know, animals like doing jobs. They do things that make them feel good about who they are. And your neighbor's cat is bringing you dead birds to show you that they're good, they can do their job. They'll deliver the message. So I would say, what is your message from what that cat is doing? What do you need to learn from what that cat is doing that maybe could be incorporated into your life? And it's not about dead things. It's about doing things to its completeness. Ravi is saying, please tell me how you became a conflict consultant. It was my specialty. That's how I was good at it. And I knew that I saw how weak everybody else was at solving conflict, and I had no problems with it. So I just became an expert at conflict. That's how I became a manager, or I wasn't a manager, as a consultant. So basically I would consult to executives who would have, you know, employee issues, dispute issues, executive issues. You know, I've gone into organizations where half of the executive staff was fired and for various reasons, and I was brought in to help bring the new staff together and to work cohesively. So I had to work with the ones that were left behind to deal with the carnage of the 6 that had left. What should poor people do if they suffer from mental health problems? Well, first of all, whether you have money or no money, mental health does not have is not limited, meaning it happens to anybody who does not have a practice of mental discipline. And so that means they become very egoic and they get stuck in the mind and they disconnect from the heart. So if you're suffering from mental health problems and you know that that's an issue, there are many different kinds of mental health problems, but I would say connect with your heart, because that's free and you could do that all day long. I would look to see what your spiritual beliefs are, but in general terms, I would say if you don't feel comfortable connecting directly to God, and I know a lot of people have been taught to not do that, I would connect directly to creation or to the elements of earth, air, water, and fire. And I would bring them in as elementals so they reside within you, like embody them, because that doesn't cost any money to embody them. And you'll know when they are embodied because you'll feel slightly different, okay? And then you want to ask the elementals to support you to becoming more balanced, because a mental health problem is nothing more than just an imbalance. What is it an imbalance of? It could be an imbalance of chemicals. It could be an imbalance of stress. It could be an imbalance of your nervous system. I mean, it could be all of them. So you want to look at bringing more balance in. That can be through conscious breath as well. So you don't really need a lot of money to bring balance in, okay? Being in expression is like a mindset, a way of thinking, acting, and making decisions. Well, Peter, I'm not really fond of the term mindset. And the reason why I personally am not fond of it, and I will always offer, where's the mental flexibility? Because the reason why people get stuck is because they're in a mindset, usually. And the mindset allows you to be rigid. It makes you inflexible. It's like, no, I don't believe that's true. I don't care what you believe. Okay. I mean, I do and I don't. I care that you care. But most people are more stuck on not believing than they are in believing. If you don't believe in God, I'm okay with that. I don't judge you. I know it exists. If you don't know, that's okay. I accept that. Do you believe in water? Do you believe in the importance of water? You can connect with the elements that are of creation. We want to have mental flexibility. People who are not mentally flexible will be depressed. They will be anxious. They will have health challenges. They will get constrictions of the blood. And that will cause blood pressure issues. That will cause headaches. That will cause dietary problems. That will cause organ issues. So mental flexibility is the better way. Oh, I don't know what's happening to my chat. Grr. I don't know what just happened to the chat. I lost all the questions. Kiana, can you please ask, is there any unfinished pain in your heart? Certainly there is in mine, but listen to you talks. I am starting to work on it. Oh, is there any? Well, first of all, if you are asking the question, you already have the answer. So that's a yes. Do I have any unfinished pain in my heart? I haven't asked that question, but I'm going to go ahead and feel into that. And I would say yes. Yes, that's a beautiful question. Thank you for that, Jer. And so this is how we help one another. You know, I'm here doing my own healing too. I would never come on here and say that I'm done. It's all over. But I will say that the vast majority of my soul lessons have been integrated. Yes. So that's a great way of looking at questions and asking them in a different way that helps everybody learn. So Jer, that question can be asked of every single person in here. And every single person in here can feel into their own heart and say, okay, yes, I have unfinished pain in my heart. How do I want to address that? Okay, there's something weird going on with the chat. I can't see, the chat's disappearing. Ray Faye is saying, do you heal sexual energy space? Are you talking about sexual misery? Because usually that's what that is, and that's huge. And I do my best. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I'm definitely proficient. It's difficult when you're a leader. You can become detached. That's the challenge, Neiman. Knee meeting. It's difficult when you are detached. I mean, because that's the goal of the 3D world, is to be in disconnection, right? And our job is to get connected. And I think this is a perfect time to say, this channel is not for everybody. Everything that I'm saying might not resonate, and that's okay. Take what resonates and leave the rest behind. Hey, Eric. It's so interesting. I don't know what's going on with the chat, but it's definitely being weird today. I can't see all the questions. It moved everything. So I'm just going to scroll. Yes, Paul, that was a great question. And see if I can find any other questions in here. We're just at an hour. Just going to go down and see questions. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to the chat. Oh, I think we lost all of our moderators because I can see the spam happening here. That's probably what happened. Okay, you all, it's been an hour, and we're obviously getting spammed. And so I'm going to sign off. It's really unfortunate that people do this on here. I don't even think it's people. I think it's nefarious energies. But essentially, I want to just put a bookend on this topic about the soul lessons, because it directly ties into our the laws of cycles and how patterns repeat. So if you don't learn the lessons, the patterns will repeat. Okay? So if you're seeing pain or discomfort, or as Jer said on here, unresolved pain or issues, whether you want to say it's in your soul or in your heart, that is learning that will help you access higher levels of consciousness, which is the goal. You want to have full access to all aspects of your divine expression. So when we're talking about expressions, it's not going to be expressions of the mind. It's going to be expressions of the heart. Okay? Mick, okay, thank you so much, Mick. I was going to say something, Mick, if you haven't left yet. Maybe you left, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, and Frank, good luck. The spammers are on here. I don't pay for anything. We have people here. Oh, you're still here. So Mick, I wanted to really to say that this is brought up yesterday when you invited me for a conversation, and I do believe, Mick, that you have had a story to tell, and that you have a generous heart. And I think that not everybody needs to hear how you got to where you are, because you're so much bigger than the story, Mick, that you have told. And I know that you want to invite other people to meet the path that you have met. And I think that it's generous to have that invitation, but a more Christ-like way to be, in my opinion, is to open your heart and allow your heart to be the invitation to the conversation that you like to have. Does that make sense, Mick? Okay, I just want to say, yes, Mick, but you do that with an invitation to talk about your biblical teachings, and your heart is really what the teachings are about. Not about the book, but about your heart. And so I just want to say that one of the things that, and I'm just going to share this with you, and this is my learning. One of the things that puts me off the most about talking about religion is that people are disconnected from their heart when they're talking about the things that they say help change them. And that, to me, is incongruent. And I believe that you believe that you got to where you are, and is a passion that you have. But I just think it would be better received by others like me and others on the path, that you just speak from your heart and not about a book. And I say the book, but I hope you understand what I'm saying, because I really thought about your invitation, and I thought about the kindness in which you were really trying to invite me in to meet you. And I thought about it. And I thought about why it bothers me that people always want to talk about the book and about the Bible. And if somebody invited me to talk about something that was in their heart from their own personal experience that had nothing to do with religion, I'd be more apt to listen. But to me, it's a red flag when people are trying to talk about religion when it's disconnected from the heart. And I know that's not your practice. I didn't get the sense that it was your practice, but I wanted to offer to you that I felt it in the invitation. And I just wanted to share my experience of receiving the invitation, understanding the heartfelt delivery in which you offered it. But for me, what was missing, and what's missing from most of the religious aspects of which I have been approached with, is that there's no heart. And don't let that be you. Don't let that be you. You could talk about your experience, because that's what's going to change people. Not you're telling them how bad you were and how bad your life was until you found this. Nobody really wants to hear that. What they want to hear is the truth from your heart. And the truth from your heart is your deep connection to God through your heart. Thank you so much, Mick, for hearing me and receiving this feedback. I felt like it was important because it left such an impact on me yesterday, and I really wanted to speak honestly about it, because I know when we have a deep relationship with our learning, that we can change the course of life for anybody who comes in contact with our heart, and our heart being fully open without a reason to talk about a book or a teaching or a proverb. That is not the lesson. The lesson is in the expression of the heart. And with that, my name is Kiana Sage, and I guide people to peace. If you're interested in these live streams, I do it on a different topic every day. Today's topic, the soul lessons, were inspired by an interaction that I had earlier this week. And this was, I think, the bookmark to close those aspects. But I want you to know that every single one of us has soul lessons. If you're not learning your soul lessons, that could be detrimental to the life that in which you want to thrive in. So learn your lessons, integrate them, and you will see, sense, and feel your life differently. Integrate them physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So I am Kiana Sage. I guide people to peace. If you like what we're talking about here, I come on live every day from 12 to 3, somewhere in that time frame. Put your notifications on because I don't schedule everything. I also want to say thank you to Peter. Peter, great questions, great contributions, always on point. So thank you so much. Thank you to Oliver for sharing your time on this Saturday too, and for helping support this channel. I know there's a lot of spam in the chat for you all. Just don't give your energy away to parasitics. Just don't let them suck your life away. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.